Every damn day.
Hey everyone, it's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 16 of Every Damn Day. And I am excited to talk with my guest, but before that, I just want to mention an event that we had yesterday that we are still looking for items for, and it is with the Ingham County Health Department and the AmeriCorps Group for an MLK Day of Service, and we are collecting basic necessities for people. So if you didn't get a chance to donate yesterday, please let us know, set something up with us, and we can take the stuff and get it to them still. So enough on that. I'm very excited for our guest today, our new friend, Gloria. How you doing, Gloria?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well. So what you been up to on this cold day?
Actually, I'm preparing to go buy a bed because I just moved, and the last thing that I do not have is my own bed.
Oh,
So I'm going to
well,
buy a bed.
that sounds super exciting.
It is super exciting.
Yeah. So you, well, I'm going to let you kind of tell us what you do and all of that, but tell us a little bit about you before we get into what your company is. Like, where
Okay.
were you born and raised, grew up? What's your family? I know you got some kids or a
Yep,
kid.
one kid. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was actually born here in Lansing, and when I was about 7 or so, my dad retired from GM, and we moved like way up here to nowhere land, northern Michigan. And I lived there until I was 16, and then from 16 I started bouncing around living with my sisters to get to know them, because I'm the youngest of 8. So
Mm.
I wasn't really raised with any of them. So they're all quite a bit older than me. Yeah, and I have one child, a son, who is 11 already.
That's flying by, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I have a 15-year-old grandson, and it freaks me out just to think about how fast that went.
Yep.
So, what do you do? Tell us about your company.
Yeah, I am an adaptive yoga teacher, and my business is called TheraPlay Yoga, which is kind of a play on the words therapeutic, playful yoga. And it's for all ages, so kids, teens, and adults, and quite literally all abilities. And what I mean by that is I'm specifically trained in adapting yoga for people who have developmental and physical disabilities, and trauma, things like that, that wouldn't necessarily be able to do certain poses and things like that in a typical yoga class.
So that means that you adapt to what they need and what their abilities are?
Yeah, so I can do what I really like to do is I like to do integrated classes. So I can do teach yoga on a mat, which is like the typical way that people think of yoga, where it's kind of an up, down on your feet, laying down on your bottom type thing. But I do chair yoga and yoga on the wall, bed yoga, yoga where you're just like laying there on the mat the whole time and you never ever get up. So it's different, and it's using a lot of props to help get your body in a comfortable position.
So, do you do this online? Do you do it in a physical space? How does that work?
Right now, I'm operating it as a mobile yoga studio. So right now, I'm doing private yoga in people's homes or wherever their preferred space is, community centers, and collaborations with local community based places. But right now, this is actually like why I'm setting up my room right now, is setting up my space for a recording space to be able to do on-demand classes, so things that are pre-recorded that people can just access on their own time, and then doing live like Zoom classes and whatnot. But I gotta get my space ready.
So it seems to me like during the pandemic that yoga just exploded everywhere. What
Yeah,
what's up with that?
I think when all of it happened and we were forced to slow down, and I mean, with the pandemic came just panic, and I think yoga has always been associated with calming panic. When you think breathe, relax, that is pretty much the foundation of yoga is to breathe. So with that, I think um, specialists and all of the people who kind of came out advocating for yoga, saying, mindfulness and meditation and these deliberate practices to slow down, to accept the position we are all in right now. I think that helped really push yoga and mindfulness and meditation out into mainstream and made it a topic that kind of everybody is a little bit more familiar with now.
Yeah. Did your business grow during the pandemic?
It's really wild because when before the pandemic, I had this whole idea of like, well, I want to do it online because I want it to be accessible to people, and that was my mindset around it. And when the pandemic, so just before the pandemic hit, I was doing research and I was thinking like, how do people do yoga online, and how could I, as an adaptive yoga teacher to people with physical and developmental disabilities, like how do I do this online, and do it safely? That's the biggest thing, is do it safely online. But in that process, that was the big learning curve, because that's when other teachers that are beyond me, with my abilities to teach, started coming out with programs of how to teach online. So it definitely put me out there, you know what I mean, a bit more, and kind of like hustled my process, with learning how to do it and getting my intentions out there for sure.
Yeah. So, I kind of talked about yoga exploding during the pandemic, which means it became a very crowded space for you, right? There were people coming in to be yoga teachers that had never even thought about doing that before. Was that frustrating? Was it welcoming?
No, I think it's great, to be honest with you, because I mean, that would be like saying we have too many targets, and that's silly. You know what I
Too many
mean? Like,
what?
it's just too many targets. You know what I mean? Like, there's Target on a, like out in different areas of town. There's too many gas stations. It's like,
Oh,
like nobody would really say like, oh, there's too many gas stations, because they're necessary. Um, but so I kind of felt the same way when it came to yoga. Is it's necessary and it's needed. And when it comes to teachers, everybody vibes with somebody different, you know and having more people out there doing it, and more people doing it in their own way, because even though the foundation of yoga, we're all kind of teaching the same sort of foundations of yoga, we're all teaching it and delivering it in our own way. So I think the more the merrier, to be honest with
yeah.
you. You know what I mean? Like, that's how community builds and connection builds, and you learn from each other and all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
I like it.
I saw a lot of yoga that where people were trying to kind of differentiate themselves from other yoga, so goats and beer and dogs and cats and whatever else. Do you feel like you were in a I mean, being adaptive yoga, are there a lot of you that do that? Is this a really good niche for you?
No, there's not a lot of people that do it. It's more it's surprisingly more of like a specialty training to do adaptive yoga, or it's something that teachers just kind of explore on their own. So for me, um, I practiced yoga long before, like back in my 20s, even in my teens. And back then, like I could do all the twisty, bendy pretzel poses. And whether it was because my body could physically do it, or, you know, because I was like mentally brave enough to do it, probably both. But I was in a car accident just before I got pregnant with my son, and that caused physical disabilities. And from there, I realized, oh my gosh, I can't do yoga anymore. And I kind of pushed it away. And I focused more on the meditation bit, but I had to teach because there wasn't, adaptive yoga wasn't really a thing. I had to teach myself, and I had to go to online resources to figure things out. And it was really, really hard. It's something really, really hard to teach yourself. But then when I found other teachers who were teaching it, that's when I knew, like, these are the people that need to teach me how to do it, because I can't do yoga if it's not adaptive yoga. I need the props. I need the chair. I need, you know, all the bolsters and things like that. So when it came to doing it and offering it as a teacher, I knew that that was the only thing I wanted to offer. Is I only wanted to offer what I knew from personal experience, and I only wanted training in what would help me with my personal experience, so that I could go forward and pass along like what I know and what I can, from my own experience, say this has helped me. And that goes the same for my son too. My son has developmental disabilities, and so teaching him yoga was something that helped him with like sensory processing disorder and dysregulation and stuff like that. And it just helped our connection and my ability to parent better. That it just, it's for me, it's a good niche because I know it, I live it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's, you know, it's something very, very personal to me. So it's something when I hear people say like, oh, I can't do yoga, and they give me all the reasons, it's, you know, it's kind of like, no, you can, because I can. You know, like if I can do it, you can. So
Yeah. So a lot of this though, you have to, you're like a pioneer. Yeah.
well, I mean, maybe in the area, sure, yes, but I'm learning from really, really incredible people, that, like I said, like the founder of Accessible Yoga, and people who've trained me, are very, very, very good folks. And I'm happy to say that I've got really good training.
Yeah. Do you because you do some remote stuff or virtual stuff, do you have clients all over the state, the country, the world?
Yeah, I do actually. There's a few that I think, as far as like the world, I think that it's Canada and Ireland are the only, like, you know, countries that I've had a client with. And it ranges from kids to adults, or sometimes they do it together. But yeah, I had somebody from Ireland who was a woman with disabilities like myself, you know, just chronic pain, injuries type of thing. And we did bed yoga together, you know, like she wanted to learn bed yoga for the mornings. And yeah, so she was my client from Ireland. And then I had a little kid and his mom from Canada. So, but yeah, and then kind of sprinkled throughout the throughout the country. Yeah.
So I had a guest a few days ago, Justin Kane, who was when he was in fourth grade, had a brain hemorrhage that gave him a disability that he was not born with. And he talked about that most people with disabilities weren't born with it. They actually acquire it at some, I don't know if acquire it at some point in their life, after their childhood or their birth or whatever. Do you see that same thing? And have you worked with people that like it's really recent to them?
Yeah, I haven't, as far as like recent, the most, I mean, I've had somebody who has experienced just, I don't want to say like typical back pain, but like just lower back pain, mostly from like stress and like just kind of like, poor posture and chairs all day.
I gotta sit up straight now.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to most of the children that I work with, most of the children I work with it's been something congenital. But when it comes to adults, it is something where they're more like my situation, a car accident. I want to say all of them have been car accident. Most of them have been car accident, stroke type thing that then, like you said, like kind of shifts their life from being, one way of life to being disabled and having to kind of figure out things from there.
Yeah.
That is very common.
You're challenging me, making me have to ask you all these questions.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. But I have a couple as you talk about that and the car accidents and the injuries and the chronic pain that people have. I just finished watching Dope Sick on Hulu, which is about the
Oh, they're on my
Sackler
list.
family and Oxycontin and what the Purdue pharmaceutical. Do you feel like you're putting a dent in pain management so we don't have to go towards narcotics or?
Oh, that's big.
Well, it's a tough claim to make,
It
so I
is
want
a
to
tough claim to
excuse
make.
you
So I
from that.
don't, I don't want to step like outside of my scope of practice because I'm definitely, so, okay, so let me lay this out here, like personally, is opiates, from my experience, have never created a good situation. Opiates are, and I studied pharmacology once upon a time in college. Opiates are designed for addiction. So I hope that people would educate themselves and even challenge their doctors if their doctors are, kind of going with that first before other methods, whether it's yoga or like all the other types of therapies out there, or in pain management things out there, just because opiates are so dangerous. But I do think that yoga helps with the mindset, and it does help with pain management, but it just kind of depends on the degree of injuries. So I definitely wouldn't say yoga is like a treatment replacement or anything like that. It definitely still is something that you have to be, you have to be healthy enough to do yoga. You know what I mean? Like it's still something that it's kind of like all physical activity, like get it cleared by your doctor sort of thing. But I do feel like it offers an alternative to traditional things. It's a more holistic approach to pain management for sure.
You're a hero to me for that because anything that takes just one pill not being taken or one opioid not being put into somebody's body, I think is great. We've seen a lot of trends going from like traditional AA and NA into more meditative things like refuge recovery. And I think the yoga movement, the mindfulness movement has really done a lot with that, or for that. So, yeah. When you look out at all of the issues we face in our communities, whether it's poverty or gun violence or the substance use disorder, where's your place in there? How do you kind of look at how you're helping to make our community stronger?
I have to I have to say, like, one of my biggest goals is community collaboration. So aside from just like doing my own thing and having my own clients where we're only doing yoga and they connect directly with me because that was really their initial purpose or whatever. My goal is to connect with, like Mike from the village, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
To whether it's something that he wants to do something with conflict resolution, and or like you said, with substance abuse syndrome. Is it syndrome or disorder? What's the
Disorder.
appropriate term? Disorder. Okay.
Substance use disorder.
Okay. Substance use disorder. To work with people who know more about that than me, to teach me, and then I can bring in what I offer to help impact people in more of a community setting, because I think wellness overall isn't it. Sometimes we get lost in the self-care term, that it's all about yourself, and that's how you start with self, and self is number one, and those things are true, but it's also part of your self-care, and your self identity is where you are in the community, and how you can serve the community, and how you can make the community stronger and more unified. And that's what I would like to do with working with, like, all of these other people doing incredible things with, when it comes to, I mean, just, I seriously have like a journal of just a list of people and organizations that I want to collaborate with, because, there is so much going on in our community, and there's so much good forces, you know what I mean, pushing our community in the right direction. And I want to be with those people, kind of, learning from them, and trying to do what we can together, for sure.
Is there anybody you want to call out right now that you want to connect with that you haven't yet? We'll pressure them.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So first of all, I do have to email Miranda from, I'm going to say it wrong, Houston Legacy.
Yes.
Am I saying it right?
Yes, you are.
Houston Legacy of Enlightenment,
yes.
I think is where she is. Okay, yes. So I got to reach out to her because we exchanged emails. So I'm definitely going to reach out to her. The village, I want to do something with Punks for Lunch. I want to do something with the food bank, do something with my place here at Allen Neighborhood Center. I want Ellie's place and your place and Eve, and there's so many other ones for women and children, survivors of domestic abuse. I have a list, honestly.
Yeah.
I wish you called me out, and I'm like, I have a journal.
Sorry, I don't mean to ever call anybody out, but I wanted to get an idea of who some of your collaborations would want to be with. Like Dawn was my guest yesterday from Ellie's place.
Yeah.
We love the village. We're really good friends there. Punks with Lunch has their office upstairs at the Fledge. So we'll get you connected with, well, you're probably connected with most of them, but I definitely want to see you moving forward because I love what you do.
Thank you. Definitely. I want to, the way I look at it is I want to hold hands with everybody who's building up the community. You know what I mean? I want to be there. I want to be part of it. I want to help it.
Yeah, I think we all need to hold hands a little bit more. So that's even you're building that fabric between us. Maybe we'll find out too. So you've received a couple pieces of good news in the last few days. One of them we're not going to talk about, so we'll get that out of our minds for a second. Okay. And that'll be announced sometime soon. But what was the other? You kind of alluded to it a minute ago.
Oh, yeah. I was accepted for a scholarship to get training from the founder of Accessible Yoga, Jivana Heyman, I believe, Heyman. And basically, he is the one who has pretty much coined this term accessible yoga. And in his foundation, he lives truly by the definition of accessible, in that he teaches adaptive yoga. It's inclusive to every community, like LGBTQ plus community, to just every single marginalized community, bigger bodies, disabled bodies. And his entire training is based off being trauma sensitive and aware of who we are, like who each individual is, and what we represent, and how we can advocate for all of these other communities that we may not have personal experience with, but how we can advocate for them, support them, and be allies through yoga. And so I'm super excited to start that on Monday.
Is that a pretty intense program, or?
It's I believe it's 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 days a week, 3 days a week for a couple hours.
All right.
And yes, I mean, I read his first book. I'm on his second book right now. And like we talked about before, like when we first met, is I said that I am collecting people who are kind of on the same path of integrity that I'm on, like, that we're all kind of going for this, the same, not really the same thing, but you know what I mean, like just integrity led, community minded. And he's somebody in the yoga world that really embodies that. And so he was on my list of people that I just needed to learn from. I need to learn from him personally, not just reading his books. I need to learn from him personally. So
everybody can connect with you from your website, right? Yep. And it's in the bio that I have with the show. But for the people who are listening on like Spotify or what have you, will you just say your website out loud for us?
Yeah, you can just type in theraplayyoga.com. So that's THERAPLAYOGA.com.
And again, I'll be sharing that in the comments tomorrow. It's already in the description of the show and all of that. So people can reach out to you if they're interested in learning more.
Yep. Whether it's private yoga or just signing up for email updates on when I will have the on-demand classes or Zoom classes when I get my room set up.
All right. So what did we forget to talk about that you'd like to make sure we do?
Oh my goodness. I don't even know. Okay. I feel like we have talked about so much. Yeah, I don't know. All I think that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much for coming on the show and for doing what you do in the community. I guess you said here at Allen Neighborhood Center. Are you living in those apartments?
Yeah, the last we talked is I was like, it's on my vision board. Yes, I do. Yeah.
That's nice. How are they?
I love it here. And the whole reason why it was on my vision board is because, like I said, like my son has developmental disabilities, and it's everything to me is very deliberate and intentional with getting him a little closer to independence. That's just, whatever, things can help him be more independent. And it's so amazing here. Like I have laundry in my apartment. So like he does his own laundry.
Nice.
Like he goes down to the mailbox and he gets the mail. It's literally like this little bubble community. The farmer's market is right downstairs. Like, oh my gosh, I just love it so much. And the people here are amazing and they have incredible programs. Oh, hey, I'll just say that while we're here for something extra, that if you guys go to allenneighborhoodcenter.org, I believe it is, You'll find that they have a ton of accessible programs for adults, for kids, for youth, like gardening programs. My son's in them, and just lots of things. And there's lots of things going in down here. There's going to be like a little health department, doctor's office place down here. Awesome restaurants are down here, and the Elf Co. East Side Lansing Food Co-op is going in pretty soon. So it's we love it. We absolutely love
exciting.
It here.
East Side.
Yeah, I know, right? I always think of like my mom like made the joke because my nickname, don't make this a thing, but my nickname in my to my siblings is Wheezy because I have asthma. So moving up to the east side, you can imagine, you know, the little jokes I got with that.
That's pretty funny. Maybe people won't get the Jeffersons reference or not.
Get that.
So, well, thank you so very much. And everyone, that's a wrap for Every Damn Day. We'll see you again tomorrow. And we love you all and have a great day. And thank you very much, Gloria, for coming on the show and everything that you do.